All right, get ready, folks, because today we're going to dig into a story. A story where, get this, teeth cleaning and algorithms actually collide.
It's true.
It's all about TempStars.
TempStars, yeah.
And that's TempStars in case you're searching for it at home.
Well, you're listening.
Exactly. And it's a platform. It connects dental offices with hygienists and assistants whenever they need some last-minute staffing help.
Yeah, like think of it kind of like the Uber of, dental professionals.
Okay, I like that.
Right. Just pops up, saves the day.
Exactly.
Whenever you need it.
And we're going to talk about them today because they decided to revamp their cancellation policy. And this is kind of a big deal in the dental world.
It's a really big deal. And what's really interesting about it is that it's not even just about, dentists and hygienists. It's really a story about, I think, something a lot more of us deal with. It's about supply and demand. It's about, like, trying to find reliability in this gig economy world that we're living in. And yeah, this might even affect you the next time you go to get your teeth cleaned.
Oh, okay. So you're saying my next appointment could actually be riding on this whole thing.
Why?
All right, now you've got my attention for sure. We've got some really good stuff for you today. We're talking about the old policy they had, we've got the new policy, and even some real stories from people out there using TempStars. But before we kind of unpack all the details about the new system, I think it'd be good to go back in time a little bit.
Yeah, let's reminisce.
Exactly. So tell me, what was the old cancellation policy like, and what was going on that made them decide, hey, you know what? It's time for a change.
Yeah, well, okay, picture this. It's 8:00 a.m. Your dental hygienist calls out sick.
Oh, no.
Right.
Every office manager's worst nightmare?
The worst. And their schedule is just out the window now. It's a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So that is where our friends at TempStars, they came in to save the day. They're the superheroes of dental staffing. But as you can imagine, these last-minute cancellations, they're a huge, huge problem for everybody. Offices are scrambling to find somebody to replace this person. They're often paying a premium to do that. And then on the flip side, you have the hygienists and assistants who are well, now I'm out of day's pay.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough on everybody. That's, like you said, it's lose-lose. So how did the old policy try to address this? What was their approach?
So they were definitely trying to strike some kind of balance. They had to make it fair for everybody. So offices, they had to give some kind of compensation. They had to pay the hygienists and assistants 50% of their fee if they canceled within 24 hours of the shift.
Okay.
So that was to soften the blow a little bit of those lost wages.
Yeah.
It's something.
Better than nothing, right? Yeah. So a bit of financial cushioning, that makes sense. But then, COVID happened.
Oh, yeah.
And that definitely changed things. I mean, how could it not?
The world was turned upside down.
Right.
And suddenly it wasn't just about oh, this is an inconvenience. It was this is a public health risk, potentially.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at the old policy here,
Yeah.
and I see these COVID cancellation penalties, and wow, they did not mess around. We're talking for a first-time offender, a 10-day suspension of your account, and for a second offense, that's a 2-month ban.
Yeah, they were not playing around.
Wow.
And I think, you have to think about it. They had to prioritize everybody, right? Making sure that everybody was safe, the entire community. And in those early days, I mean, nobody really knew what was going on with COVID. So it makes sense that they wanted to take a cautious approach.
Yeah. Nobody knew if it was going to, last a couple of weeks or a couple of years.
Right. It was a scary time for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because you had this whole balancing act going on. They had to be fair. They had to make sure things were reliable. And then they had this huge public health crisis to think about. So it's really no wonder that TempStars decided, okay, time to hit the reset button. We need a whole new system.
Yeah, a total overhaul.
Right. But before we dive into, all the new bells and whistles, I'm curious, what were people actually saying? The dental professionals, the offices, what was the feedback? What did they like? What did they not like about the old system?
Oh, that's so important. We can sit here and talk about algorithms and all these fancy policy terms all day long.
Right, get lost in the weeds.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, this is really about people, right? These are people's jobs. It's how they make a living.
Exactly. So spill the tea. What were people saying?
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the dental professionals for a second. One of the biggest things they hated was how inflexible the old system was. Can you imagine? You have this last minute emergency, you have to cancel a shift, and you get penalized the exact same way as if you'd booked it months ago and then decided not to show up.
Oh, well, yeah.
Not cool. It just felt really unfair to a lot of people.
Yeah, that would be super frustrating.
Totally. And it wasn't even just like how harsh the penalties were. A lot of dental professionals, they just wanted to feel heard, like their individual situation mattered. There was this big desire for a system that felt a little more understanding, a little less like you messed up, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, less like a punishment.
Okay.
Okay, so more flexibility, a little more empathy. That's what the professionals were saying. What about the dental offices? What was their take?
Okay, so imagine you're a dental office manager, right? Your to-do list is like a mile long already.
Oh, I bet.
Right? And then all of a sudden, boom, last minute cancellation. The worst. Patients are counting on you, the schedule's out the window, you might be losing money. Stress city.
Stress City, for sure.
And it just really highlighted how important trust and reliability are. Like, that's got to be rock solid for a platform like this to even work, right? Because every time someone cancels, no matter the reason, it's like this little tiny crack in that foundation of trust.
Oh, that's such a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. So it sounds like TempStars knew they had to address this head on if they wanted to make this work, for the long haul.
Exactly. So they did something kind of radical. They just scrapped their whole cancellation system and started over. Instead of those like flat penalties, they went with a points-based system.
Interesting.
Yeah, like a credit score, but for cancellations.
A cancellation credit score. That's wild. Okay, tell me everything. How does it work?
Okay, so instead of getting like, a huge penalty right off the bat, the new system gives you points based on like when you cancel. So let's say you cancel the day of the shift. That's a big no-no. 2 points. Ouch.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's going to hurt.
But let's say you cancel like 2 weeks out. It's only 0.6 points.
Okay, so the further out you cancel, the less it impacts your score.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But what about those times when, like, something totally unexpected happens
Okay.
and you have to cancel, but it's like way, way in advance? Did they think about that?
They did. They did. That's where the grace period comes in. They knew that life happens, so they built in some wiggle room for those times when, like, you really, truly cannot make it. So if you cancel within 24 hours of booking a shift and it's more than 30 days away, you're good. No points taken off.
Oh, okay, so they were listening to the dental professionals. They were like, all right, we hear you. Stuff happens. But let's be real for a sec. Even with the points, doesn't that still kind of create, like, this permanent record? Like, what if someone has just a string of bad luck and their score tanks? Are they, like, branded unreliable forever?
That is a great question. And that is where I think TempStars was really smart. They took it one step further with what they call a weighted reliability score.
Okay, a weighted reliability score. That sounds very official.
Yeah.
A tad intimidating, maybe.
A little bit, right. But it's actually pretty cool how it works. So picture this. It's a few months ago, and you're having, like, the worst luck ever. Your kid gets sick, your car breaks down on the way to work, all in the span of, like, a week.
Oh, no, the domino effect.
The worst. So you have to cancel a few shifts, points get added up, your score takes a hit, it happens. But here's the thing. Since then, you've been like the most reliable person ever. You're showing up on time, you're ready to work, you're a total rock star.
Okay, redemption arc. I like it.
Exactly. And TempStars knows that. So with this weighted system, they don't hold those like old cancellations against you forever. It's like you get extra credit for being awesome.
Okay, so it's like a fading memory, like those mishaps from a while back.
Yeah.
They matter less.
Precisely. They basically have this like formula and it looks at your entire cancellation history, but it also like really zeroes in on what you've been doing for the past 90 days. So the more recent stuff, the good stuff, it carries more weight.
Oh, that's smart. So you're not stuck with a bad score forever. You can actually improve it.
Exactly. They're all about like positive reinforcements. Like, hey, we see you're trying. Keep up the good work.
I love that. Okay, so it seems like they're really encouraging people to be reliable, which is good for everyone. But I got to ask, with all this talk about points and formulas and stuff, it does seem kind of, I don't know, impersonal. Like, did TempStars just roll this out and say, all right, fend for yourselves, good luck, or what?
No, not at all. And this is something I think they deserve a lot of credit for. They really wanted to make this new system as user-friendly as possible, Like, they want people to understand it.
Oh, okay, so it's not just like a robot running the show.
Not at all. So let's say you have to cancel a shift, right? You open up the app, and before you even like hit that cancel button, they show you exactly how it's going to affect your score.
Oh, wow. So there's no surprises.
No surprises. You know exactly what you're getting into. Transparency is key.
I like it. Knowledge is power, right? So it's not just about being transparent, though, right? They're actually looking at the data, like
Mhm.
seeing how this new policy is playing out in the real world.
Oh, yeah, big time. They've got a whole team of people, data scientists, I think they're called, and they're constantly monitoring the system, crunching the numbers, trying to find any weird patterns. And it's not about like getting people in trouble, it's about understanding why these cancellations happen in the first place.
So, like, is there something they can do to make it better? Like maybe there's a common problem they can fix, or maybe they can tweak the system to make it even fairer.
Exactly. So the data is really helping them fine tune everything, and they're always looking for ways to improve.
So, big picture time, what does all of this mean for TempStars going forward, and maybe even for other platforms out there? Do you think this is the future of, like, cancellations?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Like, will this new system solve all their problems? It's hard to say for sure. It's still pretty new. But I think what's really important is that they're trying, you know? They're not afraid to adapt, to change things up, to listen to their users. And that's huge in today's world.
It really is. This whole deep dive has been so interesting. I'm honestly realizing that there is so much going on behind the scenes of these apps and platforms that we use every day, and we don't even think about it.
It's like a whole hidden world.
Right. Like the next time I'm scheduling an appointment or even just like booking a reservation at a restaurant, I would be thinking about all this stuff, like the schedules, the cancellations, the tech that makes it all work.
Right. And it makes you appreciate both sides, the people who are showing up and doing the work, and then the platforms that are constantly trying to improve things for everybody.
It totally does. Well, there you have it, folks. The fascinating saga of TempStars and their quest for cancellation harmony. Next time you get that appointment reminder, take a second to appreciate all the moving parts that make that happen. And hey, maybe think twice before you hit that cancel button. Until next time, keep those schedules clear and this cancellation score is sparkling.